Hello, YouTube!
And welcome to another edition of Ari on Wheels. As you can see, I'm not on my wheels today.
No, because this is a Tales of the Doom Buggy. She forgot.
Yes,
Yes.
I forgot.
Yes. Now, last episode, which was 2 weeks ago, sorry about that. Ari hasn't been feeling well. Her legs messed up.
Well,
So we kind of didn't do one last week.
let's explain. About a year ago, we were on a company trip, and when I was getting back on the charter boat, my foot slipped and I fell between the pier and the boat. That was some really scary stuff, let me tell you. But I also injured the outer thigh of my left leg, and since I've been trying to get back into shape some, I messed up my leg again, and that's why we didn't do another Ari on Wheels last week, because
She was in too much pain.
Yes.
But in the previous episode, I told you a little bit about our incredible meal at Emerald's. But I also said there was one that was different, better, the only 5-star restaurant that we've ever been to. And that is Victoria and Albert's. One of the cool things they give
there's
you...
a crest on the back, too.
Yes. That has your name. They give you the menu because you can customize it based on your preferences. Now, in Ari's case, she said, I'm pescatarian, which sounds religious, but it's not. That she only eats chicken, turkey, and fish. So her menu is a little different from what I got, because I don't have any of those restrictions, other than I am a little bit gluten intolerant. If I have a lot of gluten, I sometimes have problems. But, okay, we will get started, because the first thing we had is the same, which was a Delta asparagus with imperial caviar.
And that course was labeled as the amuse-bouche.
Amuse-bouche.
Mm-hmm.
Amuse-bouche.
Amuse-bouche?
I think so.
I always thought it was amuse-bouche.
Somebody will comment and say,
Yeah,
one was right, one was wrong.
Somebody please correct us.
Yeah. An amuse-bouche, for those who don't know, is kind of a pre-appetizer. It's to get things going in your mouth. It's very small, but usually really, really tasty. And of course, it was, because 5-star restaurant. Speaking of, we had, what was it? 3, like a head waiter and 2 assistants. And it was just the 2 of us. There were like dozen tables in that room.
Might have been a dozen tables.
And I think each table had 3 people. It was awesome. Now,
well, 3 people serving. It was generally just couples.
Yeah, true. An option, the second thing on the list, was an optional a caviar with traditional garnishes. Half an ounce was $110. A full ounce was $210. We didn't do that. I mean, I like caviar, but no.
I like caviar better than Tech Sargent Ken does.
But that was still a lot of money, and we didn't do that. The next one, I think, was the same.
Oh, you talked about the...
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was an Alaskan king crab with sun-kissed melons and pink peppercorn yogurt. I remember this. Oh.
Yes,
Yeah.
The groans we're making barely touches.
Not even.
I mean, if you've ever done fine dining or you've listened to Remy from Ratatouille and combined flavors.
Oh, yes. This is one of those, well, first of all, everything was tiny, smaller even than tapas, which if you haven't had tapas, a tapas restaurant basically serves appetizer-sized dishes that are designed to be shared. So normally in a tapas restaurant, you'd order like 3 or 4 things. They would come out when they're ready, and you just sort of graze. These were even smaller, yet more intense. It's almost like you take a regular dish, put it in a shrink ray, so that all the flavors get more and more intense, but it gets smaller. This entire meal was like that.
Consider too, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 courses. So you're basically being brought food almost constantly.
And you think it's like, oh, this is so small. Yeah.
By the 7th course, my back teeth were floating. I was so full.
Yeah. Even I, who is only full once a year, was full by the end of this.
And that's a real accomplishment.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, the next course...
No. You said you remembered the Alaskan king crab with melon and yogurt?
Yeah.
So do I. It was salty, it was sweet, but the salty from the crab didn't overpower or get overpowered by the light flavor of the melon, and the yogurt was just a little bit bitter.
That's because of the pink peppercorn, which goes back to complementing the crab. It was just a medley.
Yes.
And
it just built on itself.
Yeah. And then there was a Virginia black bass with poppy seed and lemon ravioli. Again, tiny little thing. It's about
maybe
maybe that big for the whole dish. Got all 3 pieces. You got maybe 2 bites if you combined everything.
Oh, 4 if you were more conservative.
Well, for
See,
that, but
I have a smaller mouth, so I tend to cut things into smaller pieces.
But still, again, really small stuff. The next one, did you have the?
Don't you want to talk about that?
Go for it.
Well, again, like with the previous course, everything complemented everything else. The poppy seed and lemon didn't overpower the black bass. It just complemented it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now you'll understand why people only generally go to Victoria and Albert's once in their lifetime. We'll explain that at the end. The Dover sole with langoustine, which is kind of like a shrimp, but way better.
Langoustine is baby lobster.
Oh, okay.
Don't you remember that from the Dominican Republic?
I just remember that they're really, really good. Unfortunately, they only gave us one. Yeah. We'll have to tell you about the place in the Dominican Republic another time.
Yes.
Not today. The next course, yes, it's just going to keep going. Dover sole with langoustine and Spanish chorizo bolognese.
So it was kind of a soup, but not exactly. It was more like it had a base of broth, but the tomato wasn't sharp like tomato usually is.
Yeah, I was disappointed there was it was only one langoustine, but yum.
And it does taste and look like a miniature lobster.
Okay. Yeah.
Roast,
The next course.
the corn pudding. Oh,
Next course was a French quail with corn pudding and spinach. Now, normally, Ari is not a big fan of spinach, but when you put everything together like they do with all of these courses, it all works. It all works. It's so well. There was.
The corn pudding was my favorite part. It was sweet, it was rich, but it didn't overpower the flavor of the quail, because quail tends to taste a little more like duck, but it's not as fatty or as rich.
Oh, crispy duck. That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story.
Okay, now at this course there was an optional pasta with Australian black truffles for $50. We didn't get that, but they add things as options so you could add even more stuff if you wanted.
But after our meal at Emerald's, we highly recommend truffles. They're an experience by themselves.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're just a whole nother world. Okay, now this is where we deviate. Because, as I recall...
I had the salmon for the main course.
And I had the lamb. Lamb loin, pepperades, well, basically like 3 different kinds of olives. I'm not a huge fan of olives, but all of them, oh my God, really, really good. And as Ari said, she had the salmon because she's more a fish and chicken.
Salmon with Kalamata olives and pepperade, which is a type of pepper that's related to pepperoncinis. That, like the green stuff you can get on pizzas, or yellow, green.
Are you talking about banana peppers?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, they're also called pepperoncinis.
Oh, okay. The next course was an optional course that we decided, or at least I decided to go with, and she had a taste, was the Australian Kobe style beef with potato pinwheels. Kobe beef. Now, from what I remember, the cattle that become Kobe beef, I think it's like the last 6 months, they are penned and fed nothing but beer. So the beef is very tender, very marbled, with very fine marbling.
I have never had beef that melted in my mouth before.
This did.
She
just had a taste, but yeah, but you got to be careful where you get it. Only because if it's not someplace like a 5-star restaurant where you know the Kobe beef is tip top. I remember one time we were at a different event and I considered getting the Kobe, and our business partner said, I've tried it here, it's okay. It's not worth the price. So it depends on where you are.
Definitely.
Then, after that, we were like, oh my God, there's more. And then they rolled out the selection of cheese.
Oh, no, they didn't. No. Because when you had the beef, I had the poulet rouge with homemade wine kraut. Okay, you would expect sauerkraut to be puckeringly sour. This wasn't. It was mild. It was a little bit sweet. And it, once again, complimented the chicken perfectly. Oh my God, it built like everything else has.
Then came the cheese. There were like 6, 7 different cheeses. Or actually, we could pick and we just
We
said...
could pick and choose.
Yeah, and we just said yes.
Yeah, they wheeled out this tray, or this serving cart that had the cheeses and like a dome over it.
But it was oblong, and when you took the handle, it was glass, and they opened it, and it all disappeared into the cart. It was awesome.
It was so cool.
Yeah. And so we got all the cheeses. I think, like I said, there were 6 or 7, and they had complimentary fruit or nuts or like honey, depending on the cheese. I'm not a huge fan of fancy cheeses.
I am.
I was about to say, yeah, she is a lot more than me. She's only ever had one cheese that she didn't like, ever.
Yeah.
And again, that's a whole nother story you may or may not hear. We'll see.
Well, I feel like I should at least expand on that.
Okay.
It was a handmade cheese that was made from a 14th century, 15th century recipe.
Yeah, it was druidic, wasn't it? Wasn't it like a druid recipe or something?
It was a druid recipe. Honestly, I think it tasted like a combination of salt and dirt. And yes, I do know what dirt tastes like because I was 4 at one time and ate dirt just like you did.
I probably did too, I just don't remember. Besides, I'm sure dirt tastes different depending on where you are on the planet.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, that's the cheese. Then I got, because I am mildly diabetic, I got a sugar-free chocolate mousse timbal. Most mousses are kind of light, but they're like lighter than pudding, but you know, it's kind of like pudding, just they whipped it more. Oh, this was way lighter and way more intense on the chocolate. Oh.
It was like a chocolate gasm. He actually let me have a bite or two.
And normally, Ari hates sugar-free stuff. She can't tolerate it. Oh, yeah.
So good.
And what did you have?
And I had the Hawaiian Kona chocolate souffle. Now, we've had souffles before. It used to be a regular thing, as we've talked about.
Which I talked about in our last Tales episode. I talked about emeralds, and one of the things we got was their souffle, which are quite good. Usually, refer to the previous episode.
This was definitely better. It was the cake part was. I don't light and dense at the same time.
I know.
I don't know how they do this stuff.
I swear they're wizards.
It was light
they're food
at the
wizards.
top. Yeah, I mean it was light at the top, dense at the bottom, and the chocolate flavor was like an explosion in your mouth.
Yeah, I'd go back for just that. And then there's the coffee.
Yes.
Which came out, actually was set up, actually before the cheese. We got the coffee set up first, because it was this weird scientific glass contraption where it was sort of like,
it looked like a test tube and a beaker had a baby.
Yeah. There was grounds in the middle. There was water. They put a votive candle underneath, and as the water boiled, the steam went through the grounds into the upper aperture until all the water had gone all the way through the grounds. And then they took the candle. This took about 10 minutes. They took away the candle, and then it all came back down through the grounds again. And then they poured it.
It was amazing.
Really
I've never
interesting.
had anything like it.
Yeah, it was smoother than usual. I'm not quite sure why. I mean, I know quite a bit about coffee, but I've never seen coffee quite done that way. But it was very good. Yeah, it was.
No, I've also never had Solari coffee before.
Yeah, Salawi Island coffee by Joffrey's. And then it says, down at the bottom here, it was the
names of
the executive
the
chef,
chefs.
the maitre d', and the chef de cuisine.
And we should say a special thank you to Scott Hammond, who was the executive chef. Israel is
Perez, I think.
yes,
Was the
Israel
maitre d'.
Perez.
Yeah, maitre d' de hotel.
And
Ami. Let's go with Ami.
Amy. Looks like Amy. Ryan.
Who was the chef de cuisine. Now, with all of those courses, although we didn't get it, there was an optional wine pairing. Probably would have just been like a splash with each course. When eating food like this, 4-star, 5-star restaurants, I think doing alcohol with them, with things that are this intense, you shouldn't have alcohol with this stuff.
It will eventually dull your senses so that you can't fully experience what you're eating.
Now, if you want to go a second time, if you can afford it, and want to try it with the wine pairing, great, but don't do it the first time. You will notice a difference.
Now, there is one other thing I want to talk about. There was a harpist who was playing during the early part of the meal, and I found out from a friend who had been there that you can make special requests. And just because I had to hear it, I requested She Blinded Me with Science. I've never heard anything like it. She blinded me with science on a harp.
On a full-size
It was
harp. It was amazing.
It was just one more thing that left us overwhelmed and full and satisfied, and I've never had a better meal.
Now, there are 2 levels above. We were just in the regular dining room. The next step is in a private dining room that only has I think 3 or 4 tables, and everything is prepared tableside. I forget the name of the room.
Oh.
Then there's the chef's table, which I think can seat up to 8 or 10, I forget, and that's even more. Now, round numbers, after tip, for the 2 of us, it was about $700. And you're going,
Worth
$700?
everything. Yeah, I know. You're having a mild heart attack right now. Just breathe through it.
Yeah, because
This is an experience. It is not like going out to Denny's to grab a cheeseburger. No.
they require jackets and button-down shirts for men, no jeans. You have to be dressed, and I mean, not formal, but dress nice, because this is a 5-star restaurant. It's the only one on Disney property. There are really good restaurants on Disney property. This is a whole nother level. what we noticed and confirmed with our friends who had been there previously, for 3 days after this meal, no matter what I made, and I'm not a horrible cook, everything tasted like cardboard.
It did. It's just, it's incredible.
The stuff was so good, so intense, so balanced. It
literally, the food that, and like Tech Sargent Ken said, he is not a horrible cook. He's actually a very good cook. But
everything, just like, this is so ordinary.
it literally tasted like cardboard. And like he said, other friends who have had this dining experience also say the same thing. It's a once in a lifetime thing. You can't. You can't. What words am I looking for? You can't discount it because it's so expensive. It is an experience.
And there are people who have gone back multiple times. And
I would.
oh yeah, because I just looked at the menu because I couldn't find our old ones, and it's very different. It's still about 7 courses, but they changed them based on what they can get locally and fresh.
Mm-hmm. It's more of a quarterly, seasonal sort of thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think they change the menu like 4 times a year. All right. That was Victoria & Albert's.
Oh,
If you have the means and you get the chance and you can get a reservation, that's always tough too, because unless you're local and can just call and go day of, you cannot get a reservation less than 6 months out.
Well, also consider too that with COVID, Victoria & Albert's is temporarily closed.
True. Yeah, unfortunately, lots of the restaurants on Disney property are closed or have very limited seating. So, but call, see if you can get a reservation, and when you go, oh my God, be sure and let us know, because I'd like to know what you had.
Exactly. We'd like you to share your experiences with us.
Definitely.
So
And with
thank
that-
you for
Yeah.
So thank
And
you
with
for joining us.
Yeah.
Please like and subscribe. You can also find us on Twitter and on our Facebook page.
And Instagram. Are we still on Instagram?
Well, we're not really posting very much on Instagram, but you can find us there too.
Yeah. But mostly Facebook. And we're trying to keep on the twice-a-week schedule. But considering the world, we'll try and put out at least one thing a week. I don't know if there'll be... actually, there probably won't be a Tales of the Doom Buggy this week. But we're going to try really hard to get back over to Epcot, because the Food and Wine Festival is still going on. So look for that. Thanks.